Christie, you want to go ahead and bring us up? All right, 1:30 work session. Fred, you're up.
Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate you taking time to visit with us. Basically, this is your time. We work for you. Our job is to, our goal is to, obviously, we audit. Our proposal is to audit the county and the financial records of the county. And we supplied a proposed engagement letter. But I just opened up to you for questions, and each year as we audit, we're fairly, what year is this? Is this 3? This will be our 3rd year. Each year when we came in the first time, it was all new to us, and and vice versa, we were new to you. But each year we try to implement an element of unpredictability as part of our audit procedure. So because we perform tests and samples. We can't look at 100%, otherwise we'd be here all year. So each year we try to look at something a little different. So if there's some particular areas that you have concerns or areas that you want us to focus, we're happy to incorporate that into our audit plan.
We will have a single audit this year.
What's that one?
We will have a single audit this year,
Okay.
so they've already been notified of that because of the CARES money.
Okay. All right.
So what that entails, you may know, but what that entails is where you spend more than $750,000 in federal dollars, you're required to have a compliance audit. So there's specific compliance requirements we have to look at as part of that. So that will be incorporated this year, that's just in the past. The other thing that's coming up this year is implementation of a new accounting standard, GASB 84 is the big one. It's this year, and it may modify some of the fund reporting. And so it's really some of the fiduciaries and stuff, but there's probably need to spend some time. I don't know. We're going to sit down and have a work session with some of our other clients. We've done some training on this and just to help implement. You guys draft your own financials. Christy drafts the financials, and so you probably have to speed. You probably had training. If not, we can do a resource on implementation of that. So that will also be implemented this year.
Okay.
What else would you like to see?
I think a lot of it is just I've seen the auditors more in the past 3 years than I ever. I mean, it's one of those things that part of the fiduciary responsibility for all the offices is, concerns, questions, timeliness of things. Has there been any issues in your office that you guys have had to deal with that would cause concern? I've thought that it's been a fairly well working relationship. Whenever there was a concern or an issue or stuff that has been brought or addressed, I felt that they've been brought and addressed. Ernie, your thought?
Yeah, there's 2 departments I'd really like to. Not that I really have concerns about, but I want to give them some extra support, and that would be the event center and stuff. I think it's, for all of us, it's a different ballgame than it ever has been.
That's actually been on the radar for the last few years because of the procedures.
Yeah.
Okay. Then the other one would be the fair board. I think.
Yeah.
We get questioned about that every time the fair comes around. Where's their money, and how come we're not giving more money there? And I think just some help there and knowledge for those people on the board for communication out in the county a little bit better about how those 2 departments, because they're out in the limelight a lot.
Well, and to go along with that, like with the fair, there's just things, just our policies and procedures that we have, but there's a lot of times that how are they doing it, where are they doing it, why are they doing it that way, is there ways that we can improve upon that, are there things that we need to sustain, that kind of stuff. And again, wellness complex, that's been the whole wellness center, especially as they're starting to do more and more events, and how we've been bringing in third-party contractors as well to make sure that we're in compliance with all those government accounting standards.
Yeah, and I think Christie and the event center, their relationship has improved since we've changed management up there, and processes and procedures are, I think, improved dramatically. So just, is there anything we can do to get that next level of efficiency. Maybe we're as efficient as we can be, I don't know.
Well, we currently, and actually, I don't know that I've brought you up to speed. So, Scott Crowder is now the director up there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We still don't have
No, yeah,
procedures,
I should have,
but we're going to this fall work on those.
okay.
We've got practices in place,
Mhm.
but we still have no written procedures. But then again, he just took over in the middle of a really busy season,
Yeah, right.
so he hasn't even been able to think
Yeah.
about
You
writing
gotta-
stuff down.
First priority, take care of business, you know,
Yep.
and then,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Well,
And then clean up afterwards.
And a lot of times as you're writing those, if we can actually work through them as we're writing them, because a lot of times I hate it when we go write and do something and then we just decide it wasn't right and we have to do it all over again. So if we can have guidance, input, direction, that kind of stuff, as we're doing that, to make sure that it is actually to the standard and not out left over.
Yeah, a lot of times it's, we love to get involved as it's going on instead of after the fact. Because a lot of times with auditors, we come in after the fact, but I always tell, you know, we'd love to, you know, if you have questions and you're going through things, just get us involved. We're happy to lend our thoughts and ideas, and we can even train and do some of those things as well if we need to. But, yeah, no, that's great. We can definitely focus on those. Those are good points.
The cooperation is much better.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, we felt that way too. So that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Trying to think of other things. You know, I guess from my perspective, a lot of the, you know, last year was a challenge with trying to do some remote and some here, and, you know, we did more remote. And I always learn more when I'm on site. You know, you see things, you learn things, you hear things. We do obviously a lot of work remote. There's some things that make sense to do remote, and we appreciate your help on that, but some things make sense to also be here, because,
Yeah.
you know, so we try, you know, we, even though the challenges last year, we still was, you know, appreciate for most of that. And
Just a question, as we begin to implement Tyler, when you expect that to go live?
October 1, they won't have anything to do with necessarily Tyler yet, just simply because they're auditing through September 30.
Okay.
So this fiscal
For
year,
this fiscal year.
we'll finish up financial reporting on those two things. But we have other clients that are on it, so if you have questions, we have other resources, you have resources. Yeah, so we've been in contact and aware of that. So.
Okay.
And even though they only come in on site to audit once a year, we communicate throughout the year on
Going in.
items.
Actually, I have
Yeah.
questions, which is what it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we want to be. We want it to be, you know, we don't want to be surprised at you. You guys don't like surprises, probably.
No.
We don't want surprises
No,
either. so-
not for you guys.
Yeah, not for the big guys.
I like surprises on other things, just not from the auditors.
No, I just wasn't sure how that timing would be, so
Yeah.
that's great.
How much do you think you'll have spent on several dollars this year?
Well, we have the CARES money, which,
We're gonna be, I don't know if we'll
the
hit the,
CARES money automatically throws us over.
yeah,
Well, because all of the property tax replacement money.
money, this one's
was
CARES money.
Okay, and that's spent.
Yes, that is
Yeah.
spent.
Yep, so you'll be there.
And that was, well,
But a lot of the other,
The property tax one, that was only,
Yeah, 5 million.
okay. 5.2, there we
Yeah,
go.
5.2.
Plus any other random grants.
No, and the
then we had some,
first responder PPE, air personal protective equipment, all that kind of stuff that's gonna be, yeah, we're
so
easily
the
over that.
17.3, that's, you've still got more.
That's our
we're sitting on that.
You're not, you haven't spent it, okay.
We've only received 8.5 million, but we haven't spent any.
Okay.
And I don't foresee potentially spending any this fiscal year.
Probably not before, probably not before the end.
Not
of
in
the
this
fiscal
fiscal
year.
year, that's
Okay.
correct.
So then we'll hit next year.
The challenge to figure out highest priorities and what to spend money.
Challenge to find out what you can even spend it on.
Exactly, yeah, you gotta spend it on certain things, and then, yeah, and then I mentioned this to Chris earlier, it's like, you make decisions, and they're great decisions, somebody's gonna question those no matter what you decide. you know,
Yeah,
so,
and, yeah, that's just how it goes.
yeah, but that's why you're in the future.
But I believe Michelle's put together what we have so far for cycle.
Okay.
So, those people put in that, and then,
Yeah.
and then we'll get that to those signatures.
Okay. Hey, Ernie, you got any other questions?
No, not really. I just, the last 3 years, things have gone well, and like I say, the communication between offices and things, I think, has improved, and the budget process this year, and I thank Christie and her group, I think it went it just went really well.
Okay.
So, everybody involved, thanks.
Okay.
Yep, I'm good.
All right. We have letter of engagement. If we're good with this, we can either do it today, put it on for Tuesday. Ernie, do you want us to hold on this until Tuesday when you're back, or do you want us to go ahead and do it now?
Go ahead and go forward. My voice is yes on the record, so.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve this letter of engagement and an authorized signature.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion or any other motions? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm signing for Ernie, so the signature's gonna say Carl W., but it's gonna say Ernie Melzer on it.
Thanks for your efforts, appreciate it.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
good job for you.
Yep.
Good work with you guys.
I think Teresa and I were gonna start a little early on a few items,
Okay.
so just let me
Yeah.
know.
All right, Mike,
You've been wanting to-
you're up.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Well, Mike, afternoon.
Commissioner Moser on,
Hello.
hopefully everything's going well. I am handing a supplemental piece to Commissioners, and then an extra one for you, and then an extra one for Nancy.
there you go. That's the wrong answer.
I just gave her.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
Well, that's extra.
Okay.
Commissioners, in May, we ran across a situation where we were asked if a contractor would be able to use import fill
Mhm.
to raise the foundation of a house. Actually, I don't think it was a house, I think it was a barn, but anyway, it was a structure.
Structure in the floodplain.
Yeah, inside the floodplain. Searching through our ordinance, we find that you're able to do that today. However, you have to submit a CLOMAR, which is a conditional letter of map amendment. And the CLOMAR is a miniature engineering and surveying effort that takes a couple weeks to put together and a couple weeks to file, and until someone can get moving on filling their site so that they can start construction. After the construction is done, then there is a LOMAR that is followed, which is a letter of map revision. It takes the conditional portion off of it, and it says that it's a verification that everything has been completed according to the application of the CLOMAR. That portion of it takes anywhere between 8 and 12 weeks to get complete. And so looking at our process and recognizing that there's got to be a better way, I reached out to our state coordinator and I says, how do we do this? How do we do this more efficiently? And so there is a principle that is called compensatory storage. Compensatory storage uses fill that is on site, and it trades the fill that's required to bring a structure to its base flood elevation or above. It uses fill on site to bring that elevation up, but it keeps the hole and uses that as storage. So the idea is the flood level comes up to a certain area, but that storage absorbs a certain amount of water and keeps it, keeps everything neutral with respect to a fill point of view. Not a water point of view, but a fill point of view. So we're taking dirt out and we're putting it over here, but the dirt that has been removed, that hole doesn't change until the LOMAR is complete. After the LOMAR, they can go and do whatever they want and fill that hole back in. So it's a temporary measure to balance fill that's on the site. So in this ordinance, or in this proposed revision, I changed the language a little bit. The language at the very beginning was, you're not allowed to have fill unless, and I changed it to is that fill is permitted, but you need to do it in these different ways. You need to complete it in this way. The first thing that we need to do is we need to have a flood development permit. I show caution that if you're removing or filling material in the floodway, which is different than the floodplain. Floodway is where there's actively moving water.
Mm-hmm.
There is another study that's required by FEMA. It's called an H&H study or a hydraulic study. On there, they would need to have, they would need to complete that, and really they would need to complete everything that's in section 550, which describes developing inside of a floodway on that. Number 3 says that if you're going to increase the elevation of a future structure and are using compensatory storage, or you're taking soil material out of the site and placing it somewhere else to increase elevation, this is the procedure that you use on that, and there's 4 different items there. Item number 4 addresses imported fill, because we didn't want to forget about imported. Maybe they don't want to have a hole and they just want to bring fill in to raise their structure up a certain elevation. And number 5 is that as you are going through this effort, that you complete a CLOMAR application and you finish with the LOMAR. So you end and finish with the same thing as our existing ordinance,
Mm-hmm.
but it allows us to get going. It allows builders to build right now after they file the CLOMAR. The CLOMAR application says this is what we're going to do. They submit it, they do it, they start building, and then the CLOMAR will come back and is approved, and then the LOMAR, after everything's done, would be approved afterwards. Once LOMAR is approved, they can final grade their site however they want to.
Okay.
So it speeds the process up by about 8 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
I like it.
And so this is what's proposed. You might find on number 5, there is an orange circle with the slash through it, talking with the state coordinator. Her only comment to this change that we had here is to take out the or. She wanted just and in there. The reason why I had or is that I've heard that the CLOMAR takes just about as long as the LOMAR, so why not complete the LOMAR to begin with? So that's why I thought having an or in there might work. She says it confuses the process.
Okay. Okay, fine. Okay. We have to have because this is an ordinance,
Yes.
we have to have a public hearing on this, correct? Okay.
A motion to go forward, is that?
Yeah, motion would be in order to publish for public hearing.
Yeah, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to work with legal and get those things that we need and Christy Davenport to put everything together. And then, as the process progresses, then we set the hearing date and the time and get the mailers out and everything else.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we proceed forward with setting up the public hearing for review and publication of this new ordinance.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
May,
All right.
may I add something real quickly?
Yes.
I haven't heard anything from legal. I know they're busy, so I'd like them to review this.
Yep, yep. If, get them,
Okay.
they'll do the review, and if they go through the review, and then Christie will get the scheduling of when it can go, and we'll get with legal to get it published in the paper, and then we'll do that, and then we'll go from there.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
You betcha.
Hey, Carol,
Yeah.
only one thing on that, it looks like it just has the chairman's signature.
For the,
Why don't we have all 3 signatures?
yeah, you'll have all 3 of them on it.
Okay.
So, there you go. Yep.
Yeah, and he has,
Okay.
that's the one you know.
All right, Ernie, we'll get that taken care of. Shanda. Shanda Crystal.
Shanda Crystal, Purchasing Economic Analyst. So I have before you today a request for signature on lease agreements for the 5 leased vehicles for the Sheriff's Office. These again have been delayed due to COVID. And
Finally here.
right, we are super grateful that they are, and they're equipped and everything right. One has been delivered, the rest of them will be here either tomorrow or Monday. So we are super excited to finally get our hands on it.
Nice.
Which ones are these? Are these Tahoes?
Yes.
They need to bring them down and let us take them for a spin.
Yeah.
I
And
will
let's turn the
tell-
lights on just once or twice.
I will tell Sheriff Manning.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept and sign these lease agreements as presented.
There is a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All right. With that being said, that is the last order of business.
Nope.
Oh, should I have one
One
more?
more,
Oh,
yep.
yep, sorry. My bad.
Unless you don't want me, I.
That was
I'm
active.
totally
That was signature active business, sorry.
Prep last start, then after that.
No, there you go. All right, we have Christy Clauser in discussion of ARPA funds. Yay! Real quick, Seth, Greg informed me last night that they have another round of guidance, of final guidance from Treasury that should be coming out at the end of September that they were just made aware of.
Oh, like the final?
The final version 2.5 until it comes out again. Who
Yeah.
Until we
knows?
get version
Because-
3.0.
We're still waiting for the final rule to come replace the interim final.
Right.
Yes,
right.
yeah, and so that's, apparently it was put out that they were informed that there should be another set of guidelines that will be more broad than what they are now, that could incur other changes that would be more broad. That's about what they said. More broad being the emphasis.
So maybe the jail's back on the table.
Well, actually, I may have good news for you. So, last week, we went to clerk's conference, had a breakout session with I Bailey, and also during the week, I had a GFOA webinar.
Okay?
The GFOA webinar mirrored the compliance guidelines, but gave a little bit more detail, and they have worked very closely with Treasury to try to provide some guidance. So we've got a couple good resources. We've got I Bailey, IAC combined, and then we've got GFOA. So I was just going to do super quick overview stuff you guys already know, but of course we're waiting for the final rule. The covered period for expenses, we've got from March 3rd of 21 through December 31st of 24. If you, but you don't have to spend the money until December 31st of 26, assuming that you have incurred those costs before December 31st of 24. That means contracts, subawards, or a project that was in place before then. There's the opportunity for us to subrecipient out that money. However, if we do that, we will need to come up with subrecipient procedures and
Reporting
guidelines,
guidelines.
because we do not have those currently.
Could
And
you
I could
give
get-
me those dates one more time, please? March 31st of 21 through
No, March 3
March-
of 21
yeah,
through
March
12/31 of 24.
12/31.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
spent by 12/31 of 26. There's some other procedures that we're gonna need to make sure we have online, and current internal control procedures, and then also procurement procedures. Through some of this guidance, we can charge some admin, direct rates at 10%, because we don't have a specific rate, so we can fall under the federal guidelines of a 10%, so we might be able to keep a little bit of that money, depending on the project. We do get to, keep any interest income off of the money that we generate, so we'll have a little bit of that money that we can use at our discretion. If we purchase an asset for the value greater than $5,000, we have to track that asset, which that's our threshold to do so anyways. But we will need to get permission from U.S. Treasury before we dispose of that asset.
Yeah.
So, the big first hurdle that I think we need to pass is we need to update our procurement policy. Nancy has already done that. She started that last year, and then COVID kind of hit and slowed us down. And then she submitted a new review in June. We're just waiting, but we really need to get that work session scheduled and get through that.
That is coming up. We've got that, and Shannon and I went over to Boise, over to county last week and picked up some of their stuff. And so we are looking at doing that.
Will we be able to do that in a work session so that we can see what changes we're wanting to make?
Yes.
Make sure that they're going to comply with the federal
Yes.
standards that we need. Okay.
Yep. What we're looking at is, I'm gonna have Shanda take everything that she's collected, Nancy's stuff, Ada, and create a document, and then bring it to us as a work team, and then everybody review it and come back together and make whatever changes we need to make and go forward.
Okay. It would be ideal if we could have that sooner than later. We
Yeah.
just went through
We're trying to get it done by, we just went through this yesterday, in the next couple of months. Actually,
couple months.
by October, first November, in November, what we're shooting for.
Okay, we just had a juvenile detention audit because we get our school reimbursement money in
Right.
federal.
Right,
We needed to address micro purchases and small purchases, which are not addressed in our current policy. Those documents are due to them the 1st of September. So-
can we use our existing policy with those adjustments as a temporary fill?
If
until
we use
do it?
Nancy's policy addresses all of that.
Okay.
But that's, I mean, we've been working on this since June. So, the sooner the better, I guess I should say. If you can make sure Shanda addresses within that policy, CFR 200.317,
CFR what?
200.317
Okay,
through 327. We need small purchases and micro purchases addressed.
okay.
And then I'm sure she's already got the bid and the RFPs in there. But those are federal, grant guidelines that we have to have.
You also get to, every single vendor has to sign whether they have any kind of.
I haven't even gotten to that stuff yet.
The anti-Israel boycott thing that the state legislature put into place, we have 90 days to put into effect, that every single contract that we have has to have one of those within 90 days, and if they don't, it's null and void, and we cannot do business with them.
FYI, we did send the draft policy that Nancy had to Boise County.
Okay,
They were ecstatic and loved it because they had nothing, and they're gonna make a few minor tweaks to it in full. So, that was very helpful for them. Again, with the ARPA funds, we're gonna have a single audit. We're gonna have to have civil rights compliance, acknowledgements to make sure that we're non-discriminating for the use of the funds. And then we get to the reporting. The reporting, is going to be a lot of work on our department. We have our first interim report due on August 31st, even though we've spent no money. We have to go in and fill out zeros everywhere, which actually doesn't scare me too bad, and I think it might be kind of nice because we can see what that's gonna look like with just putting zeros in. And I've got somewhere within my pile of ARPA stuff, I've got this is the booklet on how to report. So I'm looking forward to that midnight reading.
yes, good times.
So,
I could've used some of that last night.
So we will have our first interim report due August 31st. Then we will have quarterly reports, the first one being due October 31st. A quick overview of the reporting requirements is we'll have a project name for each item, an ID number that will attach to that, an expenditure category. Have you guys seen this? So this is, so each item that we spend money on is going to have to fall within one of these categories. So for PPE, it will be under public health, and then it'll be under 1.5. So as long as you can, and this is when we met with Ike Bailey last week, they stressed and stressed and stressed. As long as it fits one of these categories, you can do it. So, that's our first step in identifying projects. Then we have to report on a description of what the project is, between 50 and 250 words, the status of completion, and then there might be additional information that we have to report on, depending on the category of what the expenditure is. we have to report if it's going to assist in economic disadvantaged individuals, if there's a sub-award, if there's, and then like I said, certain categories of spending, and if it's infrastructure, that'll be additional, reporting that we'll have to do. Annually, we will have a civil rights compliance, certification that we'll have to make. So, there is, if you do infrastructure or a project that is greater than 10 million, there is even more reporting that you have to do.
So you wanna do 9,999,991?
You have basically labor
Yeah.
information requirements that you'll have to do.
Yeah.
Check Davis Bacon wages, or certify that, we are helping impact the local local area anyways. There's like 5 guidelines that we'll have to do.
Other
So-
economic support, you're gonna watch every single county in the country is going to
Well,
2.13.
Some of these, you've got to report on, the plan,
Oh,
how
yeah.
it assisted, it's just, yeah, very time consuming. Like I said, we do have iDaily that will be a great resource for us, and they're working with IAC. So that's the quick overview, which you've probably seen some of the information, but if you hadn't, there you go. I have been compiling a list, and I sent some of the information to Brian before he went on vacation because he wanted some deep reading. And within those projects, the first one that we had originally talked about was the Sterling Building broadband for $13,000. Under the guidance that I have seen, I am not 100% sure that that will provide.
There's different broadband granting opportunities that I think we would be better suited to go after this than that.
Because this doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
serve the underserved or the
I was
unserved.
gonna say, how are you gonna say the lawyers are the underserved?
It's a little too specific.
It's because they're helping the underserved.
So,
They're indigent by definition, man. Come on.
so
If
we,
it was prosecutor, no. If it's a public defender, yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
so we could go ahead with this project, pay for it out of county funds, and then if we can find another grant opportunity to reimburse us for that, we might be able to do that. Not on this list that I gave you. Also approached for a request for these funds was the Event Center and Wellness Complex. They had the North Side and South Side sewer projects, which the north side was about 250,000, south side was a little over 1.4 million. So those are potential uses. We can definitely cover a single audit with this. That's only going to be $3,000 to $5,000.
Yeah.
PPE, I already said that
Yeah.
falls in that category of what, 1.5 or 1.3. We already have some departments that have purchased PPE. We have continued to code anything after, well, since COVID hit, we have that one line item of $899.40 where all PPE has been paid for COVID-related items. So we could do a reimbursement to departments for that. We don't have a whole lot. I think we've got about $5,000 total that would fall into this category if we wanted to do a reimbursement. The other option is if you want, but that might just become everyday business. So I don't know if we have big projects, that might be reimbursable if we need to spend little drops of money so that we don't have to return it. That could be a last minute decision. The admin costs we mentioned, something else that came up last week is you could hire a consultant or temporary workers using Arpa Funds that would assist our office and your office with these projects, managing them, reporting, that kind of stuff, if we wanted to come up with something like that. We did meet last week after the iDaily presentation. We spoke with, I don't have her name, but it was the attorney, or the accountant that was working for, IAC. He mentioned to her about the jail project. She felt because it was not a standalone infrastructure project, because it was an expansion of, we could probably qualify the jail expansion for Arpa Funds. It would allow us to spread the inmates out. So it gives social distancing. So we might be able to throw that in there. Now, keep in mind, if we do that, it's gonna throw us over the $10,000 or $10 million, that's how much we dedicate towards it. So we'll have to look into the requirements of
So is
reporting.
it 10 million
and
per
all that.
project or 10 million in total in capital expenditure projects?
Projects over 10 million.
So I take that as projects over 10 million, it would be one project, not, if you did 17 million,
Not
worth of
cumulative.
not cumulative, it's single project.
Yes.
And we're not going to use all the money on one project, so we might just have $9,999,000 worth of money being used on that project, and the rest of it being a non-appropriate lease option.
So,
Because, I mean, right now with building material costs, even when we start to come down a little bit, we're still gonna be in the $16 million range.
so, and the big thing that IAC said, and I Bailey was, hold on to the money for a little while, wait for your final guidance. So,
Well, and they're still-
these currently are just options,
They're still anticipating even this final guidance to come September.
won't be final.
No, because what's happening is still with all of this and the guidance, it's not, a lot of them still are so defined. They've defined them for very large urban areas, and the rest of the country's like, okay, what do we do? So,
Tony did provide me with a request, which is what I handed to you.
yeah.
Within next year's budget, some of these items are in next year's budget, some of them are not. While brainstorming after we met with, I Bailey last week, the medical remodel could potentially qualify, that's $90,000. The wet cells could potentially qualify, just simply because it's keeping the people within their cell and not in the population. Negative air control system could potentially qualify because of, trying to provide clean air. That was $16,000 in next year's budget. Exhaust fans, kind of for the same reason, could potentially qualify, that's $16,000. I did not think flush valves for admin would work, but Jason found a category for water conservation that would throw that as a potential qualification, that's only $2,000. Driver's license tempered glass, that's essentially, it's not PPE, but it's preventative measures, that's $7,000. And then you look at, the sheriff's request list, premium pay, that one could qualify, that one's got some interesting reporting requirements.
Yeah.
That we would want to look into, but that would be not just for the sheriff's office, that could be kind of like all government employees.
Yeah.
C-pod renovations, D-pod renovation, the medical unit I already brought up, the water lines. Now that he has added, I asked him to add some detail to it, because just seeing water lines in the administrative side, that probably wouldn't qualify, but where he says there's leaks, water conservation could maybe fill that. I don't know, we wouldn't just, I mean, if we're
We
leaking
don't,
water.
I mean, water conservation, when they're conservation efforts, it needs to be a water, or a conservation effort should be something that would have a reasonable replacement of the cost expense. So if you're gonna spend $1 million replacing all the water lines, you better be able to save $1 million worth of water in the lifespan.
When I was originally talking to the sheriff, the stretching, so, but it's better to have everything listed.
True,
And
true.
know if it's gonna qualify.
Don't wanna bring an umbrella to the hot shower.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
and, like IPAA last week, right, they were talking about a little bit of this, and each county is going through the same thing, right? Like, we're trying to figure out what's okay, what's not, things keep changing, but I know that, I mean, they gave us this little sheet that the IAC, they're gonna put together, a rule that's gonna come out, they're saying about mid-September, right, to help with some more guidance on it. We also have some more information on here, so if there's projects, that'll help me communicate with anyone if I feel there's a question, see what they're doing. But I also know at the IAC at the end of September, they're gonna have a course on this, they're saying. So there's a lot of moving pieces, and Christy's been doing a fantastic job looking at those. But as you can see here, it's always, do we go here, do we go there? So we're gonna always have to, I think, continually adjust and look at everything. But I just want to throw that in, that there's more help on the way
I'm glad
in
they were,
interpreting it.
I'm glad they talked about it at prosecutors conference.
Yeah.
And I did see it on the agenda for IAC in September.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
There's gonna be,
We'll probably have a handful of different guidances throughout. But we had talked during budget time that we would present to you what we have so far.
yeah.
So, this is it. I can continue to put together a list of projects.
I think there's gonna be probably, and we're gonna have a discussion with some mayors. There's gonna be some further discussion too, about, infrastructure, and then, your other economic supporting facilities and stuff like that, that there'll be some discussions we'll probably start.
Yeah, maybe by the end of September, we can have a complete list of
Yeah.
all this, and then have guidance to decide what we want to do.
Yep.
So I'll
I
just
talked to
mention-
Christie about that meeting with the mayors, because you brought that up on Tuesday, with Mayor Black.
Yes.
She was wondering about the last, our mayor meeting in September, which is the last Friday.
Yes.
Do you want to move that up, or?
We could move it up. Well, yeah, because we're gonna be gone that weekend anyway, or that week anyway for IAC. We'll get back Thursday night. And so it might not be a bad idea,
Christie has you back Wednesday night.
or Wednesday night, but still, you're gonna come back Thursday, and if you're here or whatever, I mean, if we wanna move it forward, we can.
Yeah,
I don't. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I would think we should do that sooner rather than later, just so we can kind of gauge interest level and size requirements or
Let's-
size thoughts.
Try doing that maybe the first week of September.
So,
Would you relay that with her?
I will.
Okay.
are you talking about partnering up and doing with our fund?
With some of the funds we've received and some of the funds they've received.
And if we give funds to, say,
You know,
okay, well,
there'll be reporting requirements, there'll be, yeah.
Not sub-granting. if that's what
Not
you-
sub-granting, partnership. And this is one of the things that they've the Treasury Office keeps putting down in their guidance, is they want to see as many of these projects, if you can, in local areas of governance.
right.
If you have a city in your area that is trying to do a project that's going to benefit, it would be a water cleanup issue, because like, for us, talking sewer systems specifically in these little cities, and even the big cities, if we can clean them up and help sewer or do whatever, there are projects where we have a vested interest, because then we don't have remediation and cleanup later.
For example, running a sewer line from north of Chubbuck out there to clean up some of the,
So we would be paying vendors, exactly.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
all I want to make sure in that meeting is they know that we're not committing funds at
Yeah,
this time.
we're just asking for for
More
things.
projects.
And the other thing too is, like, for me personally, and this doesn't reflect the other two commissioners, but my own personal guidelines for it, it's gotta have a benefit to Bannock County, it's gotta have a benefit to, multiple possible development entities. It can't be just one person that's gonna benefit, it's gotta be, some stuff that way, and again, it falls under the guidelines. But what we want to try and encourage is, how do we use this to not only for environmental, for sewer, for economic, how do we get the most bang out of the buck? And like, Income with what they got going on with their growth pains, and that's where I think we need to have a lot of discussions. That's where it's gonna come.
And I haven't had a chance yet, this is the interim rule,
Mhm.
I haven't had a chance to go through, I've got some pages that, through some of the conferences I've attended and listened in on, they've got specific pages on certain guidelines, and I think, Commissioner Tony, I think you've looked at this already.
Yeah, I think
But,
so.
I've got specific pages that might give us a little bit more
Yeah.
insight on, yes, this would qualify, or no, this doesn't, and then we'll bounce
And
it off legal
The big,
and make sure they agree.
the big problem that it sounded like was coming out of the Treasury is different people that they were talking to were giving different guidance. And so that's what's supposed to be in September, is supposed to be, and then IAC and NACO and WEIR and all the other county organizations put together a bunch of, we need to have some specific things because that's what they were trying to address. And apparently a bunch of those with widened the scope in certain areas and defined what certain things were. So, well, if we just want to touch back, we'll hit with the mayor, but then we need to have a working group too. I think if some of those meetings come out and start identifying what are some of these projects and some of the things we can do.
I know, so September is gonna be super busy for our office, simply with the implementation of
Yeah.
Pilot. So is mid-October too late to, I mean, if we gather project lists?
I don't think that's too late. I don't, do you, Carol?
No, no. I think we project, like I said, I don't see anything getting spent early until the first of the year. And I mean, even if you're going into design, like we're talking about, we're trying to get the sewer lines at the wellness complex. I want to get those done for next season. We're gonna have to go into white paper and then start an RFP and go through that. That does bring up that, what I was joking about, but that's not a joke. The Idaho Senate and the legislature passed that, this anti-Israel boycott thing. Any vendor that meets a certain requirement, we have to have them sign a thing that says they are not boycotting Israel. And if they don't, it's up to $100,000 fine, and it voids any contract. Coke, we're laughing. Coca-Cola had a boycott on Israel. They did. And if they still do, our contract with Coke that they provide up at the wellness complex is done. So you know, so legal, get ready for that one.
Well, if we relook at this first of October, or the middle of October, that gives us time to get hopefully the procurement policy passed and done. And
No.
as soon as you can get us a draft of that, then we can make sure it matches the federal guidelines that we need it to. Because there's very specific, requirements that we can
All right. If that's that, Ernie, anything else?
Well, I just noticed in our email, we just got a signature that needs to be signed by tomorrow for public defense.
It's probably PDC office.
Yeah. So I don't know anything about it, and I didn't know if you guys signed anything today.
No, not that I haven't signed anything. I'm pulling it up right now. It literally just came in at 2 o'clock, so 16 minutes ago. Brian, for good cause, the PDC just sent this for our funds that we need to have signed by tomorrow. For Board of County Commissioners, attestation signatures on behalf of the county. I understand, I agree to forego terms, conditions, the fiscal year 2022 PDC fiscal assistance, and hereby certify my authority to execute this agreement on the county's behalf. Blah, 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 blah. And a 3-signature block for the county commissioners. Is this something we can amend in today, right now? Because otherwise, we don't have a meeting scheduled tomorrow.
Give me 1 second, I'm trying to remember what has to be right before the meeting, or if it can be during the meeting.
I mean,
it can be during the meeting, so.
What's that?
I'm just trying to remember if it's something that has to,
Okay.
that falls like within 24 hours,
Yeah.
but before the meeting, or if it can happen during the meeting. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. Would have been a great thing to have.
An hour ago.
Yeah.
Information we could have used yesterday.
You guys can sign it tomorrow and then ratify it on Tuesday.
Yeah, or I was just gonna print it, and if we can just add it to the agenda right now, we'll just sign it right now and call it good. But if we can't, we can sign it today and ratify it Tuesday.
It does say, sorry, Chairman. Okay, so, an agenda may be amended after the start of the meeting upon a motion that states the reason for the amendment and states the good faith reason the agenda item was not included in the original agenda posting. Final action may not be taken on an agenda item added after the start of the meeting unless an emergency is declared necessitating action at that meeting. Is what it says, so.
A deadline that is tomorrow.
Yeah, that funds public defense. I mean, what's your guidance on that?
trying to see where the emergency part comes in. You could hold a special meeting within 24 hours to sign it, if you're.
That'd be tomorrow afternoon by
Yeah, that'd be
2:30.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
2:33. Jeff, you're in Mark Valley.
I don't think I leave till 4.
If that, it shows at 4 o'clock on your calendar. So are you leaving?
I'm leaving at 4.
Oh, okay. I was like, yeah, if you have to be there at 4, there's no way you can be there.
Yeah, no, we're just,
Yeah, we'll either put it on a meeting tomorrow, we'll sign it, and then just ratify it on Monday. Or
I'm
Tuesday.
trying to find a definition of emergency real quick.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we can put it in today then. So we'll just sign it and either ratify it Tuesday or we'll,
so what do we do?
We've
by-
done that.
yeah,
Yeah.
just sign it and ratify it Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's that. With that being said, without any further objection, I'll ask unanimous consent to adjourn.
Aye.
All right. Thank you all, and we'll see you later.
All right,
Bye, Ernie.
thank you.